Hi, Fee Twee Win here, and welcome back to another segment of Tea with Fee. It is raining outside right now, so there's not a lot of light in my space. I am sitting right next to a window just to capture enough light to record this Tea with Fee segment for you today. So if you haven't made yourself your favorite mug of tea, please pause the video, make your tea, come back, and let us explore this really simple and powerful technique that I want to share with you today to help you vibrate at a higher energy state and to feel happiness within yourself so that you can attract more and more of those experiences in your life. So pause the video, make your tea, come back and join me. Before I share with you this technique that I actually heard watching a YouTube video, and it made so much sense to me that I started implementing it in my life, sharing it in my yoga classes, sharing with my students in workshops and in trainings. And the background information I'm about to share will give you contextual understanding as to why this technique is so powerful. You know, back in the days when our ancestors were living in the jungles, in the wilderness, and the livelihood of their physical safety was such a concern that they lived in constant fear. And in living in that way, they hardwired their brain to always be prepared for the worst. So for example, they would rather be prepared for not having a tiger in the bushes and feel the anxiety and the dread of living that way than to not be prepared and have a tiger come out and compromise their life. So because our ancestors had to function that way to survive, the brain has been hardwired to live in looking at the negative experiences or preparing ourselves for the possibility of negative things showing up in our lives. This information is further detailed in a book called Hardwiring Happiness, which I haven't read, but I've read an excerpt of it, which makes a lot of sense to me. And so that's why for many of us, even though we want to live our lives more positively, look at things more positively, it's hard for us because of the way our brains have been hardwired to rather experience anxiety, worries, and stress and prepare ourselves for the possible negative outcomes that may occur than to not be prepared and be surprised by those outcomes and be harmed by them. Now we know that we don't live in the environment, in the physical environment that our ancestors lived in. There's very little in terms of real physical threat to us these days. But because our brains have been hardwired that way, we tend to look for the negative in our lives. Now, what actually happens is when we look for the negatives, our cells are also vibrating at the level of fear and dread and worries, so that we end up attracting more of those experiences into our lives. So to reverse that process, we need to be willing to care about how we feel, and so that we can retrain our brains to wire in a different way so that we can live with more peace and more ease, and we can vibrate at higher states of energy and have more happy experiences come into our lives. Now all this is, I go into so much further detail in the Yoga Nidra Immersion weekend coming up in June. But for the practices of what we have in our 5-minute segment here, I want to share with you the technique, and if I don't get through all of it, we'll continue it in the next video. So there's 3 components to this technique. One is to share a brag, something that you're really proud of that has turned out really well in your life and you want to brag about it. And when you share this wonderful experience with someone, allow yourself to relive that experience so that you can feel great about it in your bodily sensations. And when you share it, you begin to train the mind to really receive that wonderful experience, something you're really proud of, called a brag. The second thing you want to share is a gratitude, something that you're really grateful for in your life. And again, connecting with the wonderful feeling of the thing that you're really grateful for that has occurred in your life, to again help train the brain to look for more and more of these experiences in your life. And the third is to share a desire you have.